everybody. Here to teach us about the science of cold brew coffee is Dan Kohler. Hello, Dan.
Hello, hello.
You know, this is a thing that when I mentioned I was doing a segment on this, more people came up to me and said, I've seen this on menus everywhere, and I never know.
And it's expensive.
everywhere.
Julie just said it to me this weekend. She goes, you want a cold brew? And I'm thinking, I like iced coffee.
Yeah.
And it's also, people, they're all over the place. All these cold brew coffee shops that are so fancy.
But what does it mean? Like, I don't get it.
A regular
I
cup of
don't
coffee.
get it.
What does that mean?
I'm telling you, this is why
And it's expensive.
It's so expensive.
All
The
right, so-
nerve of them.
What is the difference between cold brew and iced coffee?
That's a great place to start because they actually are completely different things, and I think a lot of people out there are confused. You think iced coffee and cold brew, same thing. Not at all. They're completely different brewing processes. They start with the same ingredients, but the way you treat those ingredients change the final product significantly.
Okay.
So let's talk about what a coffee bean is, essentially. It's 20% of every coffee bean is filled with something called soluble chemicals, and those solubles are oils and sugars and acids. And when they interact with water, they dissolve and they make coffee. But the timing and the temperature of that water to chemical interaction changes that final brew significantly. So iced coffee is really hot coffee that has been poured over ice and or cooled down.
Okay.
Cold brew coffee is started from scratch with cold water. And these are so different.
Okay, so how do you... So the brewing of the cold is completely different.
Completely
from
different than
brewing of
hot.
the
So when you make hot coffee, the ideal temperature is 195 to 205 degrees. And in that window, the solubles, that 20% of the bean that is made up of these soluble chemicals, they evacuate very quickly. It's why you can have a cup of hot coffee very quickly. It doesn't take that long to brew hot coffee. And the benefit actually is the speed, and then those soluble chemicals, some of them are volatile, which means they evaporate into the air. So that sensation of smelling hot coffee in the morning actually is not from the coffee bean, it's from the temperature of your water. So the hotter the water is, the benefit is you have this beautiful wafting scent of coffee
But half your
moving through your
coffee
house.
is floating away.
Well, no, not so much, but it's actually, those things weren't going to be flavor anyway. They're for your nose.
But
They're
it makes it very bitter too if it's hot.
And the problem is exactly that. The temperature of the water can make those chemicals, those solubles, they can oxidize. And oxidation is when a chemical compound interacts with the air or the oxygen, and suddenly those oils, they become sour, and those acids, they become bitter, and you have this taste that we associate with bad diner coffee,
or
right?
it sort of seems burnt.
It's been overbrewed, it's too strong, and it's bitter.
Yeah.
But then through the cold brewing process, there's no oxidation.
Easier for you
Easier for you
to
to
say.
Right?
Where's
Yeah.
my
Horizontal.
Horizontal, yeah.
Right.
When you brew this horizontally, you actually don't access any of those bitter chemical compounds. You don't give any time for the or any heat for those chemicals to oxidize, and what you end up with is coffee that's sweeter, smoother, and actually much more chocolatey than a hot brewed
This
cup
is
of coffee.
very true. So how do you brew cold coffee?
This is easy, and I want you guys to test while I'm
Which
doing
one?
this. You've got 2 cups of coffee there. One of them is iced coffee, and one of them is cold brew. I want you to be able to tell the difference. Now, I just take a glass jar and I take 8 ounces of coffee. And actually, Schwartz, if you can get a shot of this, I use a really coarse ground coffee right here. You don't want it too finely ground. Get that into your jar. I'm making a complete mess. I would suggest you use a funnel. Don't do this the way I'm doing this. And then I take 6 cups of water.
Could I have cream and a little?
Of course, you want sugar.
Yeah.
I know you're doing a segment, but could you make things coffee for her, please?
Guys, I'm trying to teach over here.
Oh, sorry.
Can I get a croissant?
So you're going to put that 6 cups of water, 8 ounces of coffee, and I just give it a shake, and you're going to let this sit on your counter overnight. Crack that jar a little bit, otherwise it's not going to get access to the air. When you put that away, 24 hours later, this is what you have.
So it's like sun tea.
It's exactly the same process.
It's sunty.
Now I give it a shake,
But you
and
don't
I'm
put
going to
outside.
strain that out. Now you don't have to have a fancy strainer like we have here. You can actually...
You're going to make another mess.
Oh,
Yep.
That's
Okay.
okay.
Of course I am. Guys, I never said I was a clean cook, okay? I'm a kitchen scientist.
So you strain this out. If you don't have one of those, you could use what? A cheesecloth?
Honestly, you can use cheesecloths, you can use a regular sieve.
A coffee filter.
A coffee filter is perfect.
there you
And
go.
what
Bring
you
it
end
full
up with
circle.
at the end is right here. And this is a cold brew coffee concentrate. And I need to highlight that for you. This is about twice as strong as a cup of hot brewed coffee.
Right.
So when you serve it, you dilute this with water or milk to your desired consistency. And this will keep in your fridge for about 2 weeks.
Hold on,
So
what
once
you
you've
just
made it, you're
is-
ready to go.
What you just made is considered concentrate.
Exactly. When you make cold brew, you're making a concentrate, and then you
So
dilute it as
could you
like
drink it just like that?
Absolutely. You can drink it straight, but it's twice as caffeinated as a regular
And I
coffee.
think that's what we're drinking, by the way, because you can taste the granules.
Which
at the
one
bottom.
was which?
Yeah.
Which was which
This
of this?
is
Because
the iced coffee.
On your
and-
left?
Yeah,
Yes,
light.
and this is the coffee.
on your left is cold brew. On your right is iced coffee.
Exactly.
Okay. Let me.
Now taste it, and you can go like this
This is
afterwards.
bitter.
You can taste the chocolate in the back of your mouth if you do the.
I think we might be
Yeah.
opposite from you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And well, why wouldn't you just make everything cold brew and then heat it for a hot cup of coffee?
That is a great question. Why wouldn't you?
Ooh, I guess I will be from now on.
And now you know why it's so expensive, Ken.
Exactly.
School.
I think
All that shade.
right? Wow. Well, I think it's time to move on to something more comfortable. I'm going to show you one of the latest trends in home design.
Could I have
Cheers
Ken.
to that.
And sugar, and you were like